Welcome to Gunwerks Long Range University. We have the privilege of training hundreds of clients every year, accompanying them both in training and in the field. We have the joy of witnessing triumphs, but we also share in the heartbreak of missed shots. Each miss provides a learning opportunity, and often the simplest mistakes are the ones that hurt the most. So let's look at correcting the top 5 basic mistakes hunters make under pressure. Coming in at number 5 on our countdown of simple errors that cause heartbreaking misses in the field is unfriendly scope turrets. Windage turrets should be capped or locking so they don't inadvertently get turned in the field. Horse scabbards are notorious for spinning windage turrets when it's unintended. Now, I recall one gentleman who attended one of our LRU classes to prepare for his second Dall sheep hunt. On his first hunt, he'd missed his only opportunity by several feet because a scabbard had spun his windage turret. Now, this old Leopold Mark IV here, if I take a look at the windage turret, notice that it's not capped and it does not have a locking mechanism. Now on this rifle here, we have the newer Leopold Mark V, and notice it has a capped windage turret that's also much lower profile than the turret on the older Mark IV here. On this rifle, we have the Revec RS-25i, and you'll see that it also has a capped windage turret. Now on this rifle, we have the Collis 525i. And on this turret, the windage is on the opposite side of the gun, and it's not a locking turret or a cap turret. However, it has a rotating ring on the outside that prevents it from inadvertently getting spun in the field. Now your elevation turret should have a zero stop feature. And what this does, it allows you to set the bottom of your scope's travel at or just below your 100-yard zero. In the case of this rifle, which has the Revec RS-25i on it, I can't dial down any lower. I can dial up, and it doesn't matter how far up I go. If I just crank this turret all the way down until it stops, I am back at my 100-yard zero. Now, most modern scopes have a zero stop feature. I had to go into the back of my gun safe, and once again, this old Leopold Mark IV. If I look at this turret here, there's about 5 rotations on this elevation turret. And my 100-yard zero is likely to be somewhere in the middle of those 5 rotations. And with the exception of a couple little stadia lines there that help me keep track of which rotation I'm on, it's very difficult in the field to keep track of where you're at. So if I was to turn this turret all the way down until it stops, I am probably 1 or 2 rotations below my 100-yard zero, and it's very difficult to figure out which rotation I'm supposed to be on to be back at my 100-yard zero. Now, just having a zero stop isn't enough. We actually have to use it because as human beings, we still have the potential to screw this up. The most common scenario that happens in the field is the hunter gets an opportunity at, say, 800 or 900 yards. So if I dial this turret all the way up to 800 or 900 yards, I'm going to dial to 900. I am almost 1 full revolution above my 100-yard zero. Now let's say that opportunity goes away, and I just put my scope cover back on and go back to hunting without ever dialing this back down to my 100-yard zero. Now an opportunity presents itself at 300 yards. I quickly dial up to 300, and I am now 1 full revolution above my correct 300-yard data. Now, this turret has 25 minutes of angle per revolution. Okay, so when I crank this all the way down to my 100-yard zero, I'm going over 25 minutes. Now at 300 yards, 25 minutes is over 75 inches. This simple human error would have caused me to shoot at least 75 inches high. It is critical when you're in the field, anytime you dial for a shot, whether you shoot or you don't shoot, afterwards you return your scope to its 100-yard zero by going all the way back down to your zero stop. Now some folks still insist on using a range card attached to the stock of their rifle. Notice here we have a BDC turret. A BDC turret is essentially a range card attached to your scope turret. And what that means is calibrated in yards, specific for this rifle with this bullet at a certain environmental condition, so we can dispense from using minutes of angle, and we can just work in yards. Now to see just how much faster a BDC turret can be versus a minutes of angle turret, check out the link to the video posted in this video's description. Now this turret is set up for a specific temperature and elevation, and therefore specific air density. Out to 500 or 600 yards, I can be pretty far outside of those parameters and still get a good hit on target. However, For longer shots, or from way outside of the temperature and elevation parameters on the turret, that's where the Revic BR4 or BLR10 binos come in. They have an onboard weather station, and what's unique about that onboard weather station is it knows what temperature and elevation this turret was set for, and it can give you a readout, either in minutes of angle or a corrected yardage to dial to based on your current atmospherics. Join us next time for number 4 of our countdown of 5 simple mistakes which cause heartbreaking misses in the field. And we'd love to have you out here at Long Range University. Check out gunwerks.com for a schedule of our classes.